This page shows the cover of Nintendo Power magazine, featuring Beetle Adventure Racing prominently. The cover also teases exclusive shots, Star Wars, Episode 1, Racer. There are also previews of A Bug's Life and Revolt. Super Smash Bros. Is featured along with a smashing contest with Nintendo characters. The next page is a Nintendo Power advertisement focusing on how to evolve Pikachu into Raichu. It encourages readers to subscribe to Nintendo Power for tips, tricks, maps, and secret codes related to Pokemon. The ad features several Pokemon including Pikachu, Raichu, Blastoise, Jigglypuff, Gengar, Venusaur, and others, alongside a screenshot from the game demonstrating Pikachu's evolution using a Thunderstone. The advertisement also promotes a special offer, where new subscribers receive a free player's guide or a Pokemon trading card game 2-player starter set. It also provides a toll-free number to order the subscription. This page is an ad for Triple Play 2000 on the Nintendo 64 featuring baseball player Sammy Sosa. The ad highlights features like deeper IV diving catches and harder train wreck slides. The ad states, "No one remembers who had the most bunts in a season." There are screenshots of the game, and the EA Sports logo is featured. The next page features an advertisement for Tonic Trouble on the Nintendo 64. The quirky ad shows bizarre imagery, with angry tomatoes wielding pitchforks, and a large purple character holding a bottle of Super Ed's Red Hot Tomatoes ketchup. The game's tagline is, "When all the trouble is all your fault, be a man and stand tall." The advert explains that the premise is based on Ed's toxic goo, which has caused tomatoes to riot, carrots to bite back, and the game involves insane puzzles, killer vegetables, and dangerous dungeons. This page is the contents page for Nintendo Power Volume 119, April 1999. It highlights strategy guides for games like Beetle Adventure Racing, Super Smash Bros., Triple Play 2000, ODT, Goemon's Great Adventure, MLBPA Bottom of the Ninth, Lode Runner 64, Starshot, Space Circus Fever, NBA in the Zone 99, and Midway Arcade Hits. The page also lists special features including previews of A Bug's Life and Revolt, and specials on Y2K Exposé and Global Gamings. Sections that appear every issue include Player's Pulse, Classified Information, Counselor's Corner, Poke Center, Arena, Now Playing, Pack Watch, and a next issue/game list. The page includes screenshots and artwork from Beetle Adventure Racing, Super Smash Bros., A Bug's Life, and Goemon's Great Adventure. The next page presents Player's Pulse, a section for reader feedback. One reader voices concern about gender bias in video games. There are various letters addressing issues like a glitch in Pokemon, spelling errors in The Legend of Zelda: Ocarina of Time, the rumble feature in Game Boy Color games, and the Game Boy camera. The page features fan art, a question about a Nintendo sighting in a commercial, and comments about Nintendo's presence in movies and sports, ending with a humorous cartoon about an N64. This page presents the Power Charts and Most Wanted lists. On the Nintendo 64 Top 20, The Legend of Zelda: Ocarina of Time holds the top spot, followed by GoldenEye 007 and Star Wars Rogue Squadron. South Park and Battletanks storm into the top 10, with Mario Party making an impressive appearance. The Game Boy Top 10 is led by Pokemon, followed by The Legend of Zelda: Link's Awakening, and James Bond 007. There's also reader feedback discussing gender representation in games. The page includes fan art submissions, and readers share casting ideas for a Zelda movie. This page is all about Beetle Adventure Racing for the N64. EA scores the VW license, and the reviewer thinks it might be the best racer since Diddy Kong Racing or San Francisco Rush. You get to drive a bunch of new Beetles, each with different strengths. The page details the racers wanted, showing off different car types and their stats for top speed, acceleration, and handling. You can unlock more cars as you progress, including a Lightning Beetle, a UFO-themed car, and even a police car. There are also screenshots of the game showing in-game action, with the reviewer commenting on the game's mix of German engineering and Canadian programming. This page is focused on Beetle Adventure Racing and gives tips for championship racing. It highlights the different bonus boxes, from nitro boosts to point multipliers, which can unlock special features. It also gives advice for getting the most out of your Beetle, and includes maps and screenshots of the Inferno Isle and Sunset Sands levels, providing tips and tricks for shortcuts, handbrake turns, and owning the road. This page showcases Beetle Battle Arenas in Beetle Adventure Racing on the Nintendo 64. It details the arenas: airport, rooftops, stadium, castle, ice flows, volcano, dunes, parkades, and woods. With tips to master each arena, the page also introduces power-ups, ladybugs, mystery boxes, rockets, health, poison, mines, stealers, and invincibility. Each item has a unique effect on the game, such as health recovery or temporary invincibility. Plus, the page offers map locations with hints and shortcuts for Wicked Woods level. The next page focuses on Beetle Adventure Racing for the Nintendo 64. It discusses the new Beetle Extermination mode, advising players to learn the arena layouts and noting ladybugs replace power-ups on the radar. It details gameplay modes like 4-player Demolition Derby, Shoot 'em Up, Mysteries of the Road, Bombs Away, and Nitro Burnin' Navigation, with tips for each. The page also introduces Beeswax, a character out for revenge with a souped UP camper van. Finally, it promotes the game's auto-combat features, destructible arenas, character-based vehicles, and bonus Dreamland 64 arena. This page features a double-spread advertisement. On the left, it promotes the game Vigilante 8 by Activision for the Nintendo 64, highlighting its auto-combat elements with an image of an armored vehicle and the game box, quoting Nintendo Power, calling it a winner, and describing the game as fully loaded, fully loco. On the right, the page advertises Super Smash Bros. On the Nintendo 64, showcasing a collage of characters including Donkey Kong, Fox, Mario, Pikachu, Kirby, Yoshi, Link, and Samus, alongside gameplay screenshots and a brief description of the game as a multiplayer brawler with grudge matches between Nintendo characters. This page delves into Super Smash Bros. For the Nintendo 64. It starts with a section titled Too Cute for Comfort, describing the game's appeal as a character-based competition featuring Nintendo icons. The page then breaks down game modes like one-player, time, and stock, explaining their rules and objectives. The second part of the page shifts to gameplay mechanics, detailing basic moves such as shielding, grabbing the edge, low and high attacks, tossing, and special abilities. Advanced moves like double jumps, power-ups, upward and downward super attacks, and triple jumps are also discussed. The page concludes with a section on bonus stages, highlighting 3 different types of stages players can engage in. Screenshots accompany each section to illustrate the gameplay and characters in action, such as Mario, Link, Kirby, and Yoshi. The next page continues the exploration of Super Smash Bros. For the Nintendo 64, focusing on power-ups and individual character moves. It details various items that drop during matches, like the Star Wand, Bumper, Green Shell, Energy Blade, Home Run Bat, Ray Gun, Flame Flower, Motion Mine, Pokeball, Maximum Tomato, and Heart Container. The page highlights how these items can be used offensively or defensively. The page also features character-specific move breakdowns, including Mario and Donkey Kong. For Mario, it showcases moves like Punch, Fireball, Super Mario, Super Jump Punch, and Mario Tornado. Donkey Kong's moves include Punch, Giant Punch, Monster Toss, Spinning Kong, and Hand Slap, accompanied by screenshots illustrating the characters in action. This page provides a character move breakdown for Super Smash Bros. On the Nintendo 64. It features Link, Yoshi, Samus, and Kirby, each with a description and illustrations of their special moves, including button combinations and what the move does. Link uses the sword, boomerang, hookshot, spin attack, and bomb. Yoshi has moves like kick, release egg, slurp and burp, throw egg, and hip drop. Samus uses moves such as punch, charge shot, grappling beam, screw attack, and bomb. Kirby can use moves such as punch, vacuum, pile driver, cutter, and rock shield. This page features move breakdowns for Fox and Pikachu from Super Smash Bros. On the Nintendo 64. It details each character's special moves and button combinations, with screenshots. Fox's moves include Punch, Blaster Shot, Throw, Firefox, and Reflector. Pikachu's moves include Head Thrust, Electrical Attack, Throw, Quick Attack, and Thunder. The page also details how to unlock Jigglypuff, Capped, Falcon, Kakin, Kakinus, and Luigi, and a way to unlock the Mushroom Kingdom stage by completing certain tasks. The next page features ads for 2 games. The first is Starshot, Space Circus Fever for the Nintendo 64 and PC CD-ROM, where you kick evil in the asteroid and experience pure rush of flight through fantastic 3D worlds. The second is A Bug's Life for the Nintendo 64, inviting players to experience the world through Fleck's eyes. The advert highlights key elements from the movie, such as protecting Dot, assembling the bird, and escaping Hopper. This page jumps into A Bug's Life for the Nintendo 64. It introduces Flick as the inventive ant who gets the colony into trouble with the grasshoppers, led by Hopper. The game involves collecting grains and letters, solving puzzles using seeds, and encountering characters from the film. You'll meet Francis and Slim in the Clover Forest, help assemble the bird, and even control Princess Ekarita. The game also mentions that David Foley, who provided Flick's voice in the film, will appear in the game. Flick must also journey to Bug City, piloting a dandelion seed while avoiding birds, and face off against Hopper, who is unaffected by the red berries. You'll also face enemies like Maniacal Thumper and other villainous insects. This page features more on A Bug's Life, highlighting Flick's berry arsenal, starting with basic berries that can be powered up to blue, purple, and green varieties, with the golden berry preventing enemy regeneration. Flick also has a grain harvesting apparatus that doubles as insect repellent. The page also dives into cheat codes for Fox Sports College Hoops 99, including codes for transparent players, big head mode, and unlocking Zaxxas teams. There's also a section dedicated to The Legend of Zelda, Ocarina of Time, giving tips on how to get more Skulltulas, an unlimited supply of bottles and rupees. The next page is all about cheat codes and tips for several games. For Glover, it provides button combinations for infinite lives, energy, and playing as a frog. Buck Bumble has codes to refill life and access a level select. Battle Tanks is loaded with codes for invisibility, a plague of frogs, unlocking gangs in campaign mode, invulnerability, turning Queen Lords into toads, and unlocking the Storm Ravens gang. Chopper Attack has a debug menu accessible by holding Z and pressing specific buttons. Knife Edge Nose Gunner offers a stage select and super difficulty mode activated with button combos. Lastly, there are level skip passwords for A Bug's Life on Game Boy Color and codes to unlock cars in SCAR. This page features tips and tricks for Turok 2, Seeds of Evil on the left, and a preview of Triple Play 2000 on the right. The Turok 2 section is all about cheat codes. There's a general code to unlock everything, plus individual codes for things like a Garou mode that smooths out the graphics, a pen and ink mode that makes the graphics look like wireframes, and even a tiny mode that shrinks the characters. Here, there are codes for big heads, big hands and feet, and even rainbow colors. A final code even places a baby's face on in-game tokens. On the Triple Play 2000 side, we see Sammy Sosa. The game promises great graphics, sound, and TV-style presentation. The preview mentions realistic batting, fielding, and ballparks, but notes that the competition is fierce. The next page is a guide to Triple Play 2000 for the Nintendo 64. It shows different game modes like the single game, the season, and playoffs, as well as features such as Home Run Challenge. Mark McLaguire and Sammy Sosa are mentioned as the default competitors in the Home Run Challenge, but you can pick any hitter. The guide also covers options like managing your team, using the ball cursor to help with batting, and winning awards. There are sections on baseball strategies such as the suicide squeeze, pitch out, and hit and run. It also mentions playing the lines and how to set up your defense. This page focuses on Triple Play 2000 for the Nintendo 64, detailing difficulty level options like Rookie, Pro, and All-Star, with settings for fielding, throwing, and base running. It shows the roster and stat screens, allowing roster moves and player trades. Power Picks highlights teams like the New York Yankees, Cleveland Indians, Anaheim Angels, and Baltimore Orioles, including their stats, key players, and stadium details. Baseball strategies like the stance and the cutoff man are explained. Finally, the Hall of Fame Time section features players such as Juan Gonzalez, Sammy Sosa, Roger Clemens, and Tom Glavine. The page concludes with a brief review, praising the game's realism but noting its slow pace and the accuracy of the pitching controls. This page features advertisements for 2 games. The left side promotes Rampage 2, Universal Tour, a game where giant monsters destroy cities, highlighting the return of classic monsters and the addition of new ones, alongside new locations and a bonus character. The right side advertises ODT, or Die Trying, an action RPG that blends magic and gunplay, introducing the playable crew members, Ike Hawkins, Max Havoc, Julia Chase, and Solar. This page is a strategy guide for the game O.D.T. Expanding on the game from the previous page, it details weaponry, spells, and a walkthrough of a specific level called the Nautifly US. Weaponry is categorized into light, fire, ionics, and fusion types, each with unique strengths. The guide also covers 16 spells divided into earth, water, air, and fire elements, along with their effects. Finally, it provides a map and tips for navigating the Nautifly US, including locations of key items, switches, and enemies. This page is a preview of Konami's Goemon's Great Adventure for the Nintendo 64. It highlights the game's humorous take on the ninja genre, describing it as a platformer where you'll be hacking and slashing through kabuki-inspired environments. The Ninjarama section introduces the premise. Goemon and his team must stop the evil Bismaru from using a resurrection machine. It emphasizes choosing the right ninja for each area. The page details the 4 playable characters: Goemon with his ninja pipe, Ebisumaru with his samurai paddle, Sasuke the ninja droid, and Yae with her trusty ninja bazooka. Screenshots show gameplay across a 3D map, in 2.5D environments, and multiplayer modes. The Double the Danger section focuses on the cooperative multiplayer aspect, where players can work together to overcome obstacles. The next page details more about Goemon's Great Adventure for the Nintendo 64. It describes areas like Loston Road, Dig-a-Dig Mines, Ringbell Pass, Edo Castle, and Loston Town, outlining the challenges in each, such as enemies and environmental hazards. Each area requires a certain number of entry passes to proceed, and the text gives tips for each stage, like using floating poles, mounting horses, and using coins as projectiles. Screenshots accompany each area description, showing gameplay and enemies. The final section focuses on the boss fight against the Scarecrow and Missing King, giving tips on how to defeat him by running in a circular pattern and batting back his metal missiles. This page continues with more details on Goemon's Great Adventure, providing information on several stages, including Sudden Impact, where Goemon battles Bismaru in a robot boxing match, Brawlin' Bots, outlining special moves to defeat Bismaru, Frog Mountain, with tips for navigating obstacles and enemies. It also covers Otohime Town, Kappa Road, and Naruto Road, mentioning characters like Yae and Sasuke, with underwater bazooka attacks. The page shows images of gameplay and includes a flowchart of stage access. This page continues the coverage of Goemon's Great Adventure, with stage guides and tips for Ryugu Castle, the Basemaster, Cyber Sushi, Maneater Road, Tomb Pass, and Pochan Lake. The game involves aquatic-themed levels, with enemies and obstacles and boss battles. Also, the page includes a flowchart showing how the Kokeshi Road, Pochan Lake, Spooky Town, and other stages are connected within the game world. This page presents a further look into Goemon's Great Adventure, highlighting levels like Majin Castle, Rock's Hard Place, and Thunderball, giving tips on how to navigate traps, defeat enemies, and handle boss encounters. The legend continues with Dochuki, who has been imprisoned for 300 years. On the right side of the page is an advert for the basketball game Konami in the Zone 99, featuring Glenn Rice, and showcasing the game on Game Boy Color, PlayStation, and Nintendo 64. This page features a guide to the N64 racing game Revolt, showing how Acclaim made the game unique. It discusses the design process, focusing on R/Circa car handling and track design, which includes environments like museums, gardens, supermarkets, and neighborhoods. The game aims to provide players with jump-filled tracks and collectible items, alongside free run and technique teaching training modes. Screenshots of the cars and tracks illustrate the development process. The next page continues the guide to the N64 racing game Revolt, delving deeper into its features. It discusses the car personalities and how they impact gameplay, highlighting the inclusion of pickup items and the time trial mode. The page also covers the battle mode, where players compete to tag each other. An interesting element is the custom track editor, which allows players to create their own courses using straight sections, curves, inclines, jumps, and tunnels, and share them with others. Lastly, the page talks about the game's high-resolution mode and the enhanced audio with Rumble Pack support. The next page satirizes the Y2K bug scare, presenting it as a threat from insects within computers. It features Ask Pikachu, a humorous advice column where Pikachu answers questions about the bug. Concerns range from power outages and robot takeovers to the impact on 64 consoles. The page also includes satirical pieces like Y2K Ants in the Pants and What is Y2K or Why is What 2K? Alongside quotes and annotations. The content creates a humorous and absurd take on a real-world technological concern. This page is an advertisement for Micro Machines 64 Turbo. It features a man standing between two retro gas pumps with a small yellow toy car on the ground. The tagline reads, "It's not easy being small." Screenshots from the game are shown on the right-hand side, highlighting gameplay with the tagline, "Get your elbows off the table, pal, and put your wheels on. Welcome to the first of 8 gigantic worlds." It also mentions the availability of 32 vehicles to choose from and the option to race against up to 8 players. This page is titled Global Gaming, Sightseeing, Exploring Nintendo's Online Presence Across Different Countries. It begins with a paragraph commenting on the universal appeal of gaming and Nintendo's reach, and then it dives into localized Nintendo websites. It showcases several international Nintendo sites, including those for Japan, Sweden, Germany, and Mexico. Each description highlights unique content, like the Japanese site's focus on unreleased games, the Swedish site's 1080 snowboarding section, the German site's animated splash screen, and the Mexican site's downloadable content. The page then shifts to Mexico, discussing the popularity of Nintendo games there and highlighting Nintendo Mania, a Mexican television show about Nintendo. It also features Mi Revista, Es Su Revista, showcasing a Latin American magazine with gaming news and tips. The page ends by featuring the Brazilian edition of Nintendo World, highlighting its great information. This page is titled Global Gaming, and it explores Nintendo's presence in Japan and Europe. The section on Japan highlights the country as the birthplace of Nintendo, mentioning the Akihabara district and the availability of video games even in convenience stores. It then introduces 64 Mario Stadium, a Japanese quiz show with Pokemon tournaments. Also featured are Harvest Moon, a farming simulation game, and Dragon Quest Monsters, a Pokemon-style RPG. The page also includes an image of the Japanese gaming magazine 64 Dream. The Europe section discusses the growing video game market there, focusing on magazines like the Nintendo Magazine System. It also mentions European Club Nintendo magazines and their strategies for games like Quest 64. Carmageddon is also highlighted, described as a raving mad racer developed in London. The next page is a feature on Bottom of the Ninth for the Nintendo 64. Konami is stepping up to the plate with this hard-hitting baseball game. The page highlights the different game modes: training, exhibition, and season. You can practice batting, pitching, and fielding in training mode. Exhibition mode allows for single games, and season mode lets you play a full baseball season. The scenario mode is mentioned, where players face 20 opportunities to prove their skills in high-pressure situations. The page also includes screenshots and game details. This page continues the feature on Bottom of the Ninth for the Nintendo 64, providing gameplay tips and strategies. It covers various aspects of the game, including player selection, defensive strategies, camera angles, and batting techniques. Real images of players appear in the game, and the page highlights the error option, which can lead to amusing mistakes. It also details how to use different camera angles, radar gloves, and cutoff throws. The batting section provides advice on how to read pitches, time swings, and utilize power hitting. The next page dives into more gameplay tips for baseball in Bottom of the Ninth, offering insights for pitchers covering pitch types like sliders, sinkers, and curves, and also defensive adjustments. The page also touches on using automatic or manual settings. It then shifts to hockey, showcasing NHL Blades of Steel 99, with screenshots and branding for Jaromir Jagr of the Pittsburgh Penguins, featuring games on both PlayStation and Nintendo 64. This page is all about Lode Runner 3D for the Nintendo 64, focusing on gameplay elements and strategies. It describes the storyline of stealing gold from Emperor Monk to save the universal economy. Key features explained include different types of gold, destructible and indestructible blocks, and world-specific obstacles like catwalks and glacier fields. The page also details how to use extra lives, gems, bombs, and portals, emphasizing the importance of collecting gold to activate the portals. Overall, it prepares players for the game's unique challenges and tools. The next page delves into the gameplay of Lode Runner 3D for the Nintendo 64. It identifies the enemies as monks and flying monks, providing strategies for dealing with them, such as emptying their pockets and stomping them. The guide also gives tips on using the camera, counting bombs, and digging deep. The page also showcases elements from World 1 and World 2, highlighting items like the Helix Lift, Shuttle, Bit Launcher, Capped Well, Cable Disc, and Steam Launcher. A section on World Hubs and level selection is included, along with details on accessing the console and finding cards. This page features Lode Runner 3D for the Nintendo 64, focusing on Worlds 3, 4, and 5. It details items such as the Telefreezer, Snowmaker, Snowslide, Ice Lift, Grow Riser, Telecloner, and Attack Bridge, with strategies on how to use them in levels. The guide provides step-by-step instructions for navigating specific stages, including Stage 21, Stage 24, and Stage 31, giving tips for overcoming obstacles and enemies. There are descriptions of new items, plasma, rocks, and switches that the game introduces, as well as hints for defeating the Emperor Monk in the last stage. The next page is all about Starshot, Space Circus Fever for the Nintendo 64. It introduces the game's premise of a struggling space circus needing to recruit new acts from various planets, with Starshot, a star-juggling hero, leading the charge. There's a brief description of main characters, including Starshot, Will Fall, and Will Fly, and how they function in the game. The page also shows some gameplay mechanics like using the Star Crusher to manipulate comets, performing triple jumps, and using the Rocket Man ability. It also previews the circus control room and various robots like Starcash, Wolfgang von Ravel, and Captain No Brakes. This page continues with Starshot, Space Circus Fever for the Nintendo 64, focusing on the level, the planet, Tensons. It outlines the main objective, to identify the destroyer of the missile parade, and the secondary objective to eliminate the culprit. 3 specific mission objectives are listed: entering the first Lightwell checkpoint, deactivating the shields, protecting the legs of the Virtua Circus, and luring sharks into chomping the legs of the Virtua Circus. There's information on items and power-ups like stars, life bonuses, flight time, mega fuel, and info balloons. The page gives tips on gameplay, such as using Willfly to collect flight time bonuses and manipulating enemies. The page includes a map of the planet Tensons, indicating start points and objectives, accompanied by screenshots demonstrating key areas and tasks within the level. This page continues the coverage of Starshot, Space Circus Fever on the Nintendo 64, with a guide to the level, the Planet Killer Expo. The primary objective is to find a detection system to uncover new circus acts. Mission objectives include entering the plagued ship, talking to the gatekeeper, acquiring the energy ball, returning to the quarantine ship, destroying tanks, and entering the war simulator. The page provides screenshots illustrating key locations and actions, like platforming, robot combat, and missile evasion. The level map shows objective locations, including the plagued ship, gatekeeper area, energy ball location, missile yard, and war simulator. Tips are given, for example, how to destroy the tanks by luring missiles into them. This page details the other planets in Starshot Space Circus Fever on the Nintendo 64. It highlights new planets discovered using Killer Expo's news robot, including Primatron, Technomummy, and Ultima Crash, each with unique objectives and mega fuel bonuses. Primatron tasks players with finding a surprise-laying bird, Technomummy requires retrieving the malfunction machine, and Ultima Crash involves rescuing Laika, the ghost dog. The page features game screenshots and descriptions of these planets, emphasizing the oddities and dangers of each location. There's also mention of Earth as a potential destination, requiring 100 mega fuel bonuses, and Virtua Circus as an opposing force to battle. The page also touches on Star Wars Rogue Squadron, noting you have 5 starfighters to fly on 15 planets to save from destruction. The next page is a counselor's corner with tips and tricks for the Nintendo 64 games Banjo-Kazooie and The Legend of Zelda: Ocarina of Time. For Banjo-Kazooie, it offers advice on how to reach the Witch Switch in Rusty Bucket Bay and how to beat Mr. Vile in Bubblegloop Swamp without running shoes. As for Ocarina of Time, it provides tips on getting the 4th bottle, finding the sinking lure in the fishing pond, and understanding the point of the Scarecrow song. Screenshots from the games accompany each tip. This page features tips and tricks for 2 games: Turok 2, Seeds of Evil, and The Legend of Zelda: Link's Awakening DX. For Turok 2, the page discusses how to identify false warp portals, destroy queen embryos in level 5, and navigate level 4. Screenshots are provided for each tip. The Legend of Zelda: Link's Awakening DX section explains how to fill up your photo album with tips on where to find the photographer and trigger photo opportunities, including specific locations and conditions. Also, screenshots accompany the text. The page also includes a Q and a Fast Facts section with quick tips for South Park, Star Wars, Rogue Squadron, and Wario Land 2. Questions about the Arrow in South Park, TIE Fighter code in Star Wars, and picture pieces in Wario Land 2 are answered. This page is a contest entry in Nintendo Power Magazine called Win the Smash Hits and promotes the Super Smash Bros. Game. It advertises a contest where entrants can win a collection of games featuring the Super Smash Bros. Characters, the systems to play them on, Game Boy, Virtual Boy, and N64 with Super Smash Bros., and Nintendo Power T-shirts. To enter, readers need to send in the Player's Poll Volume 119 card. The games mentioned in the background include The Legend of Zelda: Link's Awakening, Super Mario Bros. 3, Metroid, Donkey Kong Land, The Legend of Zelda, Super Mario World, Star Fox, Pokemon, The Legend of Zelda, Ocarina of Time, Zelda 2, The Adventure of Link, Super Mario 64, Star Fox 64, Donkey Kong Country, The Legend of Zelda: A Link to the Past, and Super Mario Land. The next page is for NBA in the Zone 99 on Nintendo 64, highlighting its gameplay modes and features. The game boasts quick passing, fancy ball control, and motion capture animations. You can play exhibition games, full seasons with trade deadlines, or jump straight into the playoffs. The game lets you tweak difficulty, adjust rules, and choose from various offensive schemes. There's also a three-point shootout, camera control, and a playbook to let you mix it up on offense. This page covers gameplay elements of NBA in the Zone 99 for the Nintendo 64. It details All-Star Weekend, the three-point shootout, and player editing capabilities, including adjusting player height and weight. You can also view team schedules. Coaching tips advise managing player fatigue and using offensive moves like the spin move. The page highlights roster information for all teams, spanning the Utah Jazz to the Toronto Raptors, and mentions the game allows trading players. The next page showcases Monaco Grand Prix for various platforms, highlighting the realistic racing simulation with 22 expert racers on 16 international tracks. It features a quote calling the game an ultra-detailed racing animal. This page showcases Midway arcade hits for the Game Boy Color, featuring the classic arcade games Spy Hunter and Moon Patrol on a single cartridge. The page details gameplay elements of both games, highlighting Spy Hunter's high-stakes espionage with its arsenal of weapons and Moon Patrol's lunar buggy action, emphasizing the need to avoid obstacles and enemies while racing against the clock. The ad copy promotes the retro appeal of these arcade hits. This page features Joust and Defender, 720-degree skateboarding, and Rampage World Tour, all part of the Midway Arcade Hits series. Joust and Defender are presented as a double feature, with Joust focusing on medieval chicken fighting and Defender on futuristic space battles. Joust highlights include gameplay tips, such as knocking out enemies, capturing eggs, and avoiding the lava pool. Defender focuses on protecting citizens and using weapons, including smart bombs and hyperspace jumps. 720-degree skateboarding is described as one of the first fun 3D games, with skateboarding tips like performing tricks to avoid angry bees and upgrading gear. Rampage World Tour lets you destroy cities, featuring monsters like Lizzie, Ralph, and George. Lizzie is fast, but needs multiple hits to destroy buildings. Ralph is strong but slow. George is a great climber. This page is an advertisement for Men in Black, the series for Game Boy Color. The advert features the game's box art, some in-game screenshots, and alien characters who recommend the game. It also includes a sweepstakes, where you can enter to be drawn into a Men in Black, the series TV episode by visiting www.meninblack.com, plus an offer to save $5 by mail when you buy the game, and any MIB home video. The page also notes available videos for purchase. The next page dives into Pokemon content, starting with a section called Poke Center. a regular segment dedicated to Pokemon news, rumors, and strategies. It covers the upcoming release of Pokemon Snap for the N64. A Pokemon on Tour segment details a trading card game tour that started in Miami, with upcoming tour stops listed for various cities and electronics boutique retail locations. The PokeChat Q&A answers common Pokemon questions, such as catching tough Pokemon, rumors of a Pokemon movie, fishing locations, badge abilities, and the possibility of battling Pokemon in Pokemon Snap. Also mentioned is the future U.S. release of Pokemon Stadium and Pokemon Pinball. Finally, there's a section on flying-type Pokemon, highlighting all Nippon Airways, ANA, and their Pikachu-themed planes. The page ends with a Pokemon gallery, showcasing fan art. This page features a section called Arena, presenting various challenges for gamers to tackle in different titles. Challenges include achieving 100% completion in Activision's Nightmare Creatures, scoring 100% in any Vigilante 8 mission, and racking up a high score in Game Boy's Centipede. There's also a Wrestlers Wanted section, encouraging players to create imaginative wrestlers in Acclaim's WWF Warzone. The page includes a spellbound quiz related to The Legend of Zelda. Ocarina of Time. ANP Scoreboard lists high scores for Major League Baseball, featuring Ken Griffey Jr., and 1080 degrees snowboarding. A section titled, What's Wrong Here? Challenges readers to spot impossibilities in a screenshot from The Legend of Zelda, Ocarina of Time. Finally, the page includes instructions on submitting challenge ideas and photos, alongside answers to a previous volume's questions. This page of Nintendo Power Magazine features reviews of 3 games for the Nintendo 64. The first review is for Triple Play 2000, which scores an overall rating of 7.8 out of 10. Reviewers highlight the game's graphics and sound, mentioning realistic player animations and crowd hecklers. The second review covers Beetle Adventure Racing, which receives an overall rating of 8.5. The review praises the game's graphics, controls, and the sense of exploration it offers, also noting excellent road noise and music. The third review is for Goemon's Great Adventure, with an overall rating of 7.7. The review appreciates the game's blend of sci-fi, Japanese culture, and superheroes, along with its personality and character design. The next page presents reviews for 4 Nintendo 64 games. Lode Runner 3D receives a 7.7 overall rating, praised for its challenging puzzle gameplay, despite somewhat underwhelming graphics. NBA in the Zone 99 scores a 6.9, noted for its realistic feel and customization options, although reviewers felt the AI was lacking. MLBPA Bottom of the Ninth receives a 7.5 overall, appreciated for its intuitive controls and solid gameplay, despite the absence of an MLB license. Finally, Micro Machines 64 Turbo gets a 4.6, criticized for its difficult controls and a multiplayer interface that reviewers found surprisingly unsuitable. This page features reviews for 3 Game Boy Color games. Joust/Defender receives a 6.7 overall rating, praised for bringing the arcade classics to the handheld, with solid controls and faithful recreation, though Joust doesn't quite fit on the small screen. Rampage World Tour scores a 5.8, noting the city-stomping madness, but lamenting the missing multiplayer aspect. Spy Hunter's Moon Patrol also earns a 6.7, highlighting the fun of the arcade games and the success of the graphics and design. The evaluators who provide comments are Andy, Armand, Dan, Ed, Henry, Jason, Levi, Scott, Sanja, and Todd, and the ratings show the weighting for each category. This page features a preview of Star Wars Episode iRacer for the N64. It highlights the high-speed pod racing action, introducing characters like Anakin Skywalker, Sebulba, EB Endocott, Dudbolt, and Elon Makes, and diverse racing environments across planets, such as Tatooine and Aquilaris. The game promises high-res graphics, dynamic lighting and sound, and the ability to upgrade vehicles. Also showcased are previews for Army Men, Sarge's Heroes, Conker's Pocket Tales, All-Star Baseball 2000, and Duke Nukem. The next page is a continuation of the Pack Play section, previewing several upcoming games. The first preview is for Army Men, Sarge's Heroes, on the N64, where green plastic army men battle the tan army led by Plastro, traveling from the plastic world to Earth. Sarge leads the charge with squad members like Scorch, Shrap, and Hoover, The game promises an adventure similar to GoldenEye, with multiplayer options. Screenshots of the game are shown. Next is a look at All-Star Baseball 2000 for the N64. Boasting improved graphics and gameplay, create-a-player options, and realistic batting stances. Finally, Conker's Pocket Tales for the Game Boy Color gets a preview, promising a new adventure with both color and black and white versions available. This page features previews of upcoming video games, categorized by platform. Pack Peaks highlights Duke Nukem for Game Boy Color, with 16 stages and humor. Fighting Force 64 is discussed, after Eidos dropped it. Classic NES titles like R-Type Plus and 1942 are coming to Game Boy Color, along with fishing and board games. Harrier 2001 is a combat flight sim. N64 news includes Rainbow Six, Ogre Battle 3, October release, multiple Mario Golf versions, Batman and Robin, and more. The right side showcases screenshots of various games, including WWF games, Barbie games, and Pokemon Snap, and provides a release forecast for Nintendo 64 and Game Boy Color titles. The next page is an advertisement for Nintendo's repair services, focusing on fixing broken consoles. It features Link from The Legend of Zelda, aiming an arrow with the tagline, "Is your system shot?" and promotes fast, easy, and cheap repair options. The ad lists a phone number to call, a power swap service, and an express service for home delivery. Prices for console repairs are also displayed. The SNES repair costs $39, the Nintendo 64 is $59, and the Game Boy Color is $25. There is also the Nintendo NES, which says, "Call for pricing." Also on the page is an advert for the official Star Wars Rogue Squadron Player's Guide. A list of some of Nintendo Power Pass issues is included on the left. This page is the E3 preview for the Nintendo 64 and Game Boy games coming soon, highlighting the upcoming show and providing a sneak peek at the titles being showcased. The page features Star Wars, Episode 1 Racer, Jet Force Gemini, Pokemon Snap, and Conker's Pocket Tales. There's also a preview of Shadowgate, Trial of the Four Towers for the N64, and a look at Ken Griffey Jr.'s Slugfest. The page then announces the 1998 Nintendo Power Awards. There is a list of N64 games including Aero Fighters Assault, Aero Gauge, All-Star Baseball 99, Automobili Lamborghini, and Banjo-Kazooie, as well as Game Boy titles such as A Bug's Life, Arcade Hits, Defenders Joust, Arcade Hits, 720 Degrees, Arcade Hits, Spy Hunter Moon Patrol, and Black Bass Lure Fishing. Some upcoming releases and other picks include 1942 for Game Boy, A Bug's Life for N64, All-Star Basketball 2000 for N64, and Airborne USA for N64. The page ends with an advert for the Game Penny Racers, with some screenshots and game information.